Flurry here. I'm here for day 25 of BookMas, and we are going to review the series that I finished reading in the month of 2020, or the year of 2021. My brief one-sentence thoughts on them, and then what are some series I hope to start and finish in 2022. So let's get into it. Finished was the To All the Boys I Loved Before series by Jenny Han. I read this in very early. I think I read it in January because I wanted to finish the book before I watched the last movie. And overall, I really enjoyed it. And if you've not seen the cover, here is this one. Very, very sweet series, and I really like that it was one continuous story. And so rarely in YA contemporaries do you get a series that follows like one character in 3 books. Normally I see a lot of like companion series. This book really did follow Lara Jean, and it was a very effective series. Like, I really enjoyed it. I also really, really liked the movies as well. They did, again, adaptations are adaptations, but I found this like adaptation to be really, really fun. The series was really, really fun, and I want to read more by Jenny Han in the future. I'm really hoping Jenny Han writes some more things. She hasn't written anything new in quite a bit of time, and I've been dying for it, so I'm going to keep a nose out and see if I can do some more research into that. But overall, I really did like this series, and should probably pick up her other series at some point, but I've just been putting it off. But it does have to do with the summer, so maybe I'll read it in the summer. Let me know in the comments if you also like that series, because I will add it to my list if enough people tell me that they think I would like it. And then the next series that I finished is A Vow So Bold and Deadly, the Cursebreaker series by Bridget Kimmerer. Here is a photo. Book in my favorites of the year video. I really did like the end of this series. I thought it was really, really fun. I thought it, well, not fun, but it was just very, very impactful. Like, I thought it was a really, really good way to craft a series. I like that the last book gave equal credence to like all the characters in that series and did a really, really good job. It's really, really hard. I've read other books that have tried to do that, and they have not been as successful as Bridget did, and I really liked it. I like that we're going to see more in this world in the future, and I just really liked all the characters, and it was a really effective way to use the Beastsmith over like longer than just one book, and I'm really impressed with how she did that, so that is why I am chatting about it and really enjoyed it. And then the last, well, not the last book, but the next book that we're going to chat about is the All the Tides in Fate series by Adelaine Grace. Here is a photo. / mermaid theme novel. I thought this one was a lot more quest heavy than the first one. It is also very romance heavy. It was really fun and delightful, and I just really enjoyed it. I know Adelaine Grace has a Belladonna story coming out this year, which I'm definitely going to be checking out. It's definitely a darker look at mermaids and sirens, and I did like that. I also did like the romance. I like the underwater elements. I like the quest elements in the story. I thought it was a very fun duology, but the 2 books were very different, and I normally like that in my duologies, like when you get 2 totally different stories that sort of wrap everything up. I really did like this one, and I'm excited to see what Adelaine Grace works on in the future. This book we're going to chat about, or the series we're going to chat about, is the Potion Diary series by Amy Alwyn. Here is a photo. This is very much like a fantasy light series, but I did really like the first one. It's followed this girl named Sam, and she is like she's someone that like makes potions, but when something happens and she kind of needs to go on a quest, it kind of follows 3 books. She's best friends with the princess. There's a romantic element. Every book is very, very different. The first book is a quest. The second book has to do with a reality TV show, and the third book has to do with her trying to save her best friend. There's some LGBTQ representation in later books in the series. It was really, really fun. It sort of reminded me of like a Gilmore, like the small town vibe of like a Gilmore Girls, but like with magic, and I did really like that. It was definitely fantasy light, so if you're really not a big fantasy reader but want to try to get into fantasy, this is like a great starting series because I think it was very, very fun and engaging and very, very adventure based. Also, if you have like younger readers, like middle school ages that have mostly read very, very action-packed adventure stories, but they want to start reading some young adult, I would recommend this series too. It was really, really fun. I liked it. So I'm happy that I finally got around to finishing it. I know Amy Alwyn has a couple of other books out that I'm going to see if I'm interested in. I haven't looked at the summaries quite yet, but I'm really excited that I finished the series. And the next series that I finished was one series that I will admit that I was not the biggest fan of overall. This is a bit of a controversial opinion, and that is the Graceling series by Kristen Cashore. From start to end, I really struggled with this series. I think my favorite book in this whole series was Graceling, but Fire and Bitter Blue I really struggled with. And I think it was a combination of the writing style and just like not my favorite writing style, to be honest. And I think the writing style made me affect to really like the characters, but I did finish it because I was reading it for the Time Warp YA Book Club. The Time Warp YA Book Club is on a little bit of a hiatus right now because I went to Disney and I just didn't have time to set stuff up quite yet, but don't worry, it will be back. But I did finish the first 3 books. I didn't want to finish in Winterkeep because honestly, I thought that Bitter Blue had put me into a reading slump and I didn't want to risk it anymore. But it was interesting. It was a much older YA series, and I know everyone really, really likes it. They are also coming out with graphic novels, so I may pick up the graphic novels and see if I like it better. Out of all the books, I definitely liked Graceling the most. And I didn't like Fire and Bitter Blue as much, but I did finish the series, so that is why it's on this list. And then the next series we're going to chat about is the Namesake series by Adrian Young. Pirate adventure themed story set at sea. You follow Fable as she was basically abandoned by her father on a deserted island, and she has to go on a quest to get back in his good graces. I really liked both books in this series, like quite a bit. I think I liked Fable a little bit more than Namesake because it has one of my favorite tropes, like our ragtag bunch of heroes that are forced to work together to save the day. But I really did like both of them. I definitely want to get Adrian's Young, The Last Legacy, which is a book that I did not pick up in 2021, but I am equally intrigued by, so I'm going to add that to a potential book buying. I have a couple of gift cards I want to buy, so I might actually add that to like a buying list eventually. But I really did like this duology, and I really want to read more about Adrian Young in the future. The only book of hers I didn't really love was her first book. I didn't love that book as much, but I have loved this duology quite a bit and excited to see what she's working on next, and definitely checking out The Last Legacy. And then the next book series that I wound up completing was Soul of Stars by Ashley Poston, which finished the Heart of Iron series. Part of my goal to read more science fiction in 2021. I did not succeed in my mission, but I did read a little bit more. I really did like the end of the series. I wish I'd read them a little bit closer together, but again, that's just me and my deep aversion or deep ability to read sequels. But I did like this book. It was definitely focused more in on the Anastasia retelling part of it. It was set in space. It was a ragtag bunch of heroes that had to save the day. Now that I'm reading the Aurora Rising series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff, I see a lot of similarities between the two. I really am liking it quite a bit. I enjoyed it. I'm finally happy that I got around to reading it. I read it over the summer. I like seeing all my characters again. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm happy that I found it finishing it. It's been on so many TBRs. It was on my end of my backlist sequels to finish. I finally finished it. Really happy to check that off my list in 2021. You know how I feel about a list. But I'm really excited to see what Ashley Poston is working on in the future. I don't think she had anything come out last year, but I think she has a couple of things coming out this year that I'm really excited for. So yeah, I'm really excited about that. The book that I finished, or series that I finished reading, was another science fiction adventure story, and that is The Undying, which is also by Amy Kaufman, but this time her writing partner is Megan Spooner, and they wrote the Unearthed series. And again, this was another science fiction book series that science fiction duology that I did also really enjoy. The story was very different from book one. Book one was space adventure, Indiana Jones meets space retelling. This one was more a save Earth, and it was really interesting. I enjoyed it. I liked both characters. I thought it was a fast-paced story. Very, very quick, Very, very engaging, very different from book one, very, very different setup. But I really did like it. I like the main characters quite a bit. There was a couple of twists and turns at the end that I didn't expect, but I really did like it, and I'm happy that I was able to check this book, like Heart of Iron, off of my checklist, because I like a good checklist, but very excited. And then the last, I have two more. The next series that I did finish was the King of Scars series. I finished reading Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo. Here is a photo. I love this series. I thought it was a great duology. It focused on one of my favorite characters, on Nikolai, and I thought it did it in a really interesting way. It also set up the potentiality for another series in the world, and I love when a book series does that. But at the end, I just loved all the main characters in the story. I love how they were pulled from a bunch of different series that we've seen from Leigh Bardugo. So it was a couple of characters from Six of Crows, a couple of characters from the Shadow and Bone series. I like that both series previously got a shout out, and it made those series important. I thought she did a really, really good job, and I'm really excited to see what she's working on next in this world. I really hope we get some more books set in the Grishaverse, because I really like it. And a goal for me is to reread Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, because I don't think I appreciated them the first time that I read them, and would like to do that again. So that is why they are going to be on a list later in this video. And then the last book series that I finished or wrapped up, at least I think I did, is the Eva Evergreen series, because I think it's a duology, and I was able to read Eva Evergreen and the Cursed Witch this year. Here's a book. Really, really cute middle grade series about witchcraft. It kind of reminds me of Kiki's Delivery Service. The first book was very much a young witch trying to get her powers and trying to figure out how to save the town, and the second story is very much about stopping a curse from overtaking the town and saving her mother saving her mother in that story. It was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. I feel like it wrapped itself up pretty nicely, but there is room for more. I know we're getting a companion book set in the summer of this year, and it's actually on my highly anticipated list because I really like this author as well. This author is also coming out with her young adult debut called The Charm Life. I'm really excited for it, but this book was just very, very cute. And as someone who loves witches, does not read enough witch stories, I was happy that I finally got around to reading this book and that I was able to finish it. And I also finished 3 graphic novel series in the Avatar world, and I will talk about those next. I'm avoiding starting Legend of Korra because I know that when I start Legend of Korra, all of my characters in Avatar are gone. I know that that's the thing, because you can't get a new Avatar until Aang is gone, and I'm not really ready to do that yet. So I have spent a little bit of time, and my goal is really for this year to focus on the comics so I can read Legend of Korra. Watch Legend of Korra. That is my goal. But the first one I did finish was The Promise. Here is a photo. 3 trade series follows about a promise that Aang made to Zuko and the aftermath of that promise, and it was really good. I really liked this. It probably wasn't my favorite, but I really did enjoy it. I'm happy that I got around to reading it. The next one is the one we've all been waiting for. It is The Search that finally answers the question, what happened to Zuko's mom? Here is a photo. A reveal that's been so many years in the making, and I remember I was listening to the Rewatchable podcast, and they had said, look, you're not going to know the answer to this question unless you read the comics. And I remember I was like, that's so bizarre. Really happy I read this. It answered it in a really unique way. Did not expect how they answered it. I had one total theory, and my theory was proven totally wrong. I really liked it. It was probably my favorite of the ones I've read so far, but not my favorite art style. I think the next one was my favorite art style, which we'll talk about next, and that is The Rift. This was probably my favorite story, and I really liked it. I also liked the art style that we got. I also liked we got some new characters. I definitely saved maybe it was The Search. One of them I saved. I can't remember which one I saved because I really, really liked the art style. Maybe it was The Search I saved. Maybe that was the art style I liked. But you meet a character that kind of continues in The Rift, and I just thought he was very, very funny. He reminds me a lot of Aang. This one had to do with a cultural celebration that the Avatars have done the air nomads have done that it's never been celebrated anymore. And Aang sort of goes on a quest to figure out what is happening. And it was a very interesting chat. I really, really like this arc as well. I fell off the reading graphic novel for this specific thing towards the end of the year, but I'm going to try to make a comeback and read a couple more in January for sure. But that is all of the series I have completed. Now let's talk about the series I want to complete and read in 2021. Oh, you all know how much I love a list. I'm going to add to this series is the Strange the Dreamer duology by Leigh Bardugo. And I have heard incredible things about this series. I haven't really read anything by, Laini Taylor, sorry. By Laini Taylor. I haven't really read anything by Laini Taylor, but this book series has always captured me. So here's a photo. A young man who's obsessed with the lost city of Weep. He's a librarian, but then he has to go on a quest once someone arrives at their doorstep to figure out what actually happened to Weep. I think I'm doing a very, very bad job of explaining it, but I've heard it's really, really good. I have a copy of it. I hope to read both of these books this year. It's only a duology, and I've heard really good things. I never will forget the insanity at BookCon and BEA when people were trying to get Arc of Muse of Nightmares. It was the same year as the Cruel Prince series, and I remember everyone was insane trying to get copies of it. And I wasn't on the bandwagon then, but I am on the bandwagon now, and I would like to catch up. So that is what we're going to focus on. And yeah, so the next book series we are going to chat about are all the physical copies that I currently possess and can reach. So let me go get those. This is a book series that I have wanted to start for the past 4 years. I have not started it probably since I was 14. I bought it when Barnes & Noble was still alive and well. And it is The Demon King by Cinda Williams-Jima. I have started this, have never finished it, but I do really want to finish it. It is her more recent series. It's actually 2 series in one. The Demon King is 1 series, and then there's the Shattered Realm series that is the direct sequel. I really do want to get around to reading this, and actually I started it and then I got distracted and I wasn't feeling my best, so I put it down. But this is a book series that is high on my list, and that is why I put it on this list. I put it in my bullet journal. I feel like I will probably read it because it is at least motivating, and I would like to finish this by the end of the year. I am also making it a considered effort to read 1 fantasy book every single month, which I fell off the train towards the end of the year, and I think that was why I didn't read as much. Another series that I would really like to start is The Alchemist, the Immortal, Nicholas Flamel. And this is about the character Nicholas Flamel, who turned something into gold, I think. And the records show he died in 1418, but his tomb is empty. And then 2 young kids, Sophie and Josh, find themselves in the middle of the greatest legend of all time. This book series is very, very big and long, but I have heard really good things about it, and I know also Nicholas Flamel is a character in the Harry Potter movie series that I'm currently watching, but the back says, an ancient book is lost, the modern world could be ripped apart at the seams. I got this when I was traveling a couple of years ago, and I never got around to reading it, but I am intrigued enough to put it on this list. I also have The Last Magician on this list, which is a time-traveling magic series that is currently on my TBR for January, but I have had this book on my TBR for so long. I have its sequel. The 3rd book just came out, so I really need to get around to reading it. But again, it is a little bit massive, and it's a little bit overwhelming, but I don't have a lot of things to do currently, so maybe I can add that to a weekend reading vlog for you all. I also have heard incredible things about Ray Barrier by Joanne Fecco, and I really also have Redemptor on this series, so it's only a duology, and I've heard really, really good things. A lot of people that I have read it and really, really liked it, so I want to get on the bandwagon to finish this series and to enjoy it as well, so hopefully that does happen. And then the last book on this little duology is 6 of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. I feel like I did not appreciate this book when I first read it. I definitely didn't, because I was listening to it and I felt like I was rushed because it was one of the first book series we read for the Time Warp YA Book Club, and I will admit I didn't love it as much as everyone else did, but I want to give Kaz and the crew another chance, so I'm going to reread this at some point this year, and I'm going to take you guys along for the journey. So let me know what are some of your favorite series that you wound up finishing this year. For me, it would probably be Rule of Wolves. I really did like that series conclusion. I also really did like Fable. But yeah, I'm trying to get better at reading more series, so that's my goal. And I really did like all the Avatar comics. And if I had to pick a series that I was really excited to start and finish, it would probably be The Demon King, because it's been on my TBR for so long. But thank you guys for chatting with me, and I will see you guys for my next BookMas video. Bye, friends.